Andreas, how's your morning going?
Oh, it's about 8 p.m. in Europe right now, but good evening to you. I'm sorry, it took me a while to get this system working. How's it going?
Be well.
P well.
By the way, we just gone live.
Give me just one moment. Somehow I hear a very loud sound coming out of the system. Is anyone else? Is that just
Is that me? Is that my driving
Should I
car? Dang it, I'm muting.
mute just in case?
I'm muting. Dang it, someone told me that. How do I mute myself? And
Am I still audible? Can you guys still hear me?
Okay, now we probably have to boost Andreas, because Andreas is inaudible.
Oh no.
Are you muted?
In the folly of our recording session. Okay. Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right, fantastic.
Yes.
Sorry about that. Well, Bienvenido Disneyland. ¿Cómo está, weones y caballeros y damas? How y'all doing?
Oh, I'm awesome.
Oli.
So I was at the beach earlier. I walked by this place and I bought a knife in a Chinese store so that I could open things with. And it's amazing what you can get anywhere on the planet now. I was worried, I'd have to get stuff on the internet. How would I get it? But you just go into any corner now, and there's these Chinese stores, and they have everything from China, and they're like third or fourth generation, next generation Chinese like knockoffs, to the point that they're not even knocking anything off. They're just their own new products. So these new €1 sandals, this knife that's sharper than any knife I've ever had, and everything. The lesson here is don't ever bring anything from home. Just get it when you get there, because you can get Chinese stuff anywhere.
Yep.
So also been walking around looking at a lot of the architecture here, and there's just so much brick buildings that are from 100 years ago or 150 years ago, but then there will be other buildings built right around them. So you have like a tower, but there'll be a bridge just built next to it. There'll be like these malls built around these towers. So it takes a while to find them. So you have to walk around. But I finally got over towards the center, which is what Mike has been pointing out as the starport. And it's interesting how it's designed, because the entire place is this super dense construction around what was a river, and they call it the river. But it's not a river, it's a mud flood. It's a long mud path that swamped the entirety of the Valencia region, except for the center, which is a giant starport. So that's been pretty interesting, walking around seeing that. And also, apparently everyone's doing all the construction right now. So I went and I got some footage. Like the first day I got here, I got some water from one of these water fountains. And it's like a 150-year-old, at least, fountain with the face of Poseidon that spits into your mouth, out of his mouth, pure water. And the next day I went back there, and there's this metal grate around it because they're about to tear out the entire corner and build some new building. And I'm sure it's going to be like, a nice, fancy, modern, square, boring looking building. But on that same street, you'll find all of these really, really old buildings that are being kind of like in the 70s in Britain. There's squatters. So you'll find the anarchists have buildings that say like 1850 or something. But the one is a J. And so it says J 850, which I think is also pretty interesting. There's a lot of that.
I've always thought about the interchangeability of the J and the I in Christ's name, and wondered if that's the attribution there.
So one of the weirdest things also is it looks a little bit like a broken zero, the J, 0, I. And looking into Sanskrit, like the Arabic numeral. And Valencia is a very Arabic area. So the thing also that I've noticed strange here is like these clocks that all have the Arabic ones and numerals instead of the Roman numerals, which they all look like Roman style clocks, but for the face. And then around them, the buildings themselves have Moorish architecture to them too, but they'll have gargoyles and things. So there's a very, very clear neoclassical architecture here. It looks so similar to what I saw in Peru in the rainforest, and what we're noticing with the Tartarian buildings in Auckland. I'm just so surprised how they just stick out everywhere, and they're so clean. Everything's so clean here. Oh yes, and this guy. So this is something that blew my mind. I need to actually go get some video around here, but if you're looking at Mike's screen, this is a full-size Gilligan, right? It's a dude. He's a giant being tied down. And
Gulliver's Travels.
Yeah, Gulliver.
Gulliver. Sorry, Gulliver.
Yes.
Freudian slip. So Gulliver is tied down by all these little guys. Where's that at? Can you go back to that, Mike? Can you put on your screen for a second so we can focus on that? But yeah, you've got little people all around it that are, tying him down. So he's in the center of this mud river. You'll find in this triangle point, there's a sphere. And then there's an obelisk, which is his hat. But then a sword on the other side of that. And in between, is his two legs. There's a square between his two legs that you can climb up. And you can actually look out and see everything from about a story or 2 stories up. But all the people are tiny. Look how tiny. If you see those little black spots, those are actually the people. So just for perspective, how you can walk down his chest and up his arms. I mean, like you can actually get it's a completely insane structure. So I don't know if you're curious about what Valencia and giants have to do with each other, so are we.
Look at his fingers.
As above, so below. I feel like
I immediately
that is the Saturn and
he's doing
Jupiter
the hands.
conjunction.
He's doing the Catholic hands.
It's a sign of benediction, but it's Jupiter and Saturn when they conjunct every 20 years. That's what that
Viktor
signifies.
What did you?
Hey guys.
Hello. To go back to your Arabic influence in the area, one of the first texts that I received from Martin dates back to the 14th century and talks all about how the Tartars mixed with the Spaniards, and they spent a few years in trade in this area, actually, learning each other's languages and receiving envoys and opening up trade.
Absolutely. It's funny. This is a huge diamond trade.
Yeah.
This is a huge diamond trade now, but at the time it was used for trafficking of artisans a lot of the time. You'd sell people from here, but you'd sell like creative people would go to live for 20 years in a kingdom, and you get them from the coast of Spain, and a lot of the time they come from the east coast. Would be more towards the Byzantine going east. But this is where a lot of these the guys come from, supposedly. The guys who the guy an architect in Chile or in Polynesia. Why does it look like that? Well, apparently it's because they came from here. And they saw the Moorish stuff. That's their story.
I'll tell you guys about Chile, but I have to go stop sneezing for a second.
For sure.
So
I'm trying to find my hard drive to plug in for a second so I can get some more interesting stuff to look at too. Been filming a lot of. I just was walking around, recording this place and going from one street to the next street. Just it's crazy how it's like a museum. You go from one time to another time. You can see the Franco period. You can see the Spanish classical period. You can see the kind of socialist architecture, and then this modern, ultra modern, rapid transit system and everything they put in for the soccer cup, so that people could trains all over, to get here. So all of a sudden there's this crazy amount of infrastructure, these huge new towers they put up, kind of like China had put up these ghost cities. They put up these huge brick skyscrapers that, all across the Midwest of Spain. And even in the east and the west now, there's just full cities full of people from everywhere. And it's one of the things the Amazon riots were happening because of all the Amazon factories that they were putting in the west of Spain. Where's that? Where's that? Ooh, there it is. Our house is a very, very fine house.
What are you doing?
Sing in Chicago. What you guys doing? Victor, are you pulling up some interesting looking stuff, or is that you, Mikey?
No, that's me. But
Yeah.
all thanks to Victor.
Well, it's all thanks.
Why don't
to
you
guy
talk like you're selling something? We got these great new starports right for you.
that.
Look at this amazing stuff.
Would you like?
Wow, look at all these shapes, friend.
What have I
Well,
done and why does it stop working?
oh
when
yeah, I
attempt to
like
do
that
it?
one.
Oh,
Rebus. And also see the David star. It's interesting that that hexagram shows up like that.
are we back? There we go. Our house is a very, very, very fine house.
This thing was key to like, hello batteries, and add them all to the Starfort collection and increase my amount of work by a lot.
That's nice symmetry there.
Nathan, I wondered.
Screen share. All right.
Nathan,
Share. I can screen share for you though.
Well, I'll tell you if I've got anything worth showing. For now, you keep doing your thing. I'm about to open up my screen.
Yeah, because last time you kind of missed that.
I'm a genius, right? I know.
You're awesome,
Ooh.
but you know that.
Let's see if we get this to work. So I guess if you want to share the screen, but I don't know if I forget if this video, I think this video might be something I can't show, so that might not be worth it. But something I could talk about at least, the electromagnetic process and the exact sequence of the universal laws that define everything in classical physics for our world, but energy inside the nano world exceed the nuclear unthinkable number of 10 times, or 10 to the 74th power. This is all, by the way, from a Technasis video. I'm doing a little bit of work trying to do a translation of it because it's pretty interesting stuff about nanophysics and nanomechanical energy and the way kinematics work on a fundamental level. So one of the things that we're looking at is like copper and quartz and bricks, as well as the history of the use of these elements in towers. All of these towers we're finding have these points on them, and there's technasmus. Technasma is like this trident-like point on the sphere, and it's probable that there's actually like a field of thought that still use them. That's kind of where we're noticing is it's possible that they've actually been in use for some period, during all of this collapse anyway, even though we've been told that they don't do anything, or that they're just like superstitious symbols of like religions or something. It's probable that they're actually hiding that they've been using them for some purpose. And then all of them that we're noticing come from these regions where there are forests, and there are a lot of forest temples that are made out of living trees and living wood. So it seems like pretty likely that that's why that they've been trying to remove and then build new forests, because the forest, okay, this is another thing. I was talking to the guy for a preface on why I have this hypothesis. The guy I'm staying with right now, he's got his family are from France and from Brazil. He's like a Arawak native Indian from Brazil. And he knows a lot about the language that we just were talking about that got lost. There's a dead language that the museum had collected all the evidence of this language, and then the museum was burned down in Brazil about 2 years ago. So they've been trying to systematically erase the history of Brazil. But one of the things we were talking about is forests and being used for energy systems, because they produce all this water and they produce all this evaporated energy, produce electricity from lightning storms that then can be put back into the natural systems. And those are all being removed. And he's like, yeah, just recently, in like the last 6 months, his home village in the Amazon, they cut down a huge number of trees, and then it just, I think it was the last 4 or 5 years, and they haven't had a single storm since. Like all the water in that region, it used to be rainforest where it would rain every day, pretty much, no longer does. So it's pretty interesting that and it seems like they're doing it on purpose, because then they can move in and they can put freeways in, and they can turn it into a normal, palatable place that they can control. But they still need to bring in the energy. And where's the energy coming from? It's not from, I mean, they have been pumping all this energy from this one water power plant that's in this rainforest. And so they've got control of the main rainforest, but they want to make sure that no one else has any access to those rainforests but them. So it's been interesting looking into technosmokymatics, and that's my new hypothesis, is they're trying to control actual forests to control weather patterns.
From a completely engineering perspective on the video you're showing, you're looking at the cavity space of magnetrons.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've been using this technology for everything. I was telling Mike 2 days ago, about masers and the precursor for the laser, the spacer, every single thing you get. The old book clubs just made everything smaller. We're just using it and guiding it. So when you get onto the rainforest and the collection of ambient energy powering this rainforest, if a civilization were to leave and leave their device on, all that energy would have to go somewhere. So without any collection and distribution of it, everything has a bioelectric current. That could be the reason these rainforests are so lush now. Well, until they're destroyed. And that's funny. I was just looking into Chile, because I had remembered that they went to expand their Antarctic holdings just a couple years ago. And they bought a bunch of equipment, shipped it all down there, and then everything they owned in Antarctica burnt to the ground. You're talking metal structures, hazmat structures, radiological waste containers, and processing burned. Some of these things don't burn, but they did. And Chile has had a severe bout with fire in the same space of time, where their south central forest burned, and now it's just fields of twisted ash, and some shrub is finally coming to life there. And it makes me wonder what they're expanding for, because it hasn't even been 15 years, I think, since they publicly announced that they had a space program. And they've been working at length with China to develop certain things. When you go to Google Maps and go to Chile and take a look at some of those large tracts of land, you can see land lined out in grid patterns, and it looks like either oil or infrastructure for suburbs about to go in.
Well, if you could cut to my screen for a second, Mike, actually, maybe this would be a good point to do that. I'll put a little thing up. This is some pictures of when I was in Chile a few years back, or was this last year even, that I noticed this part. Grupo Luxich, and there's a number of mining efforts that go on in Chile.
There we go.
What the 10 richest families in Chile are doing is they're controlling the mineral resources mostly. And agriculture tends to be gold right now. You can sell avocados for tons of money. But when it comes to destroying the land to get lithium out, that's a quick and easy moneymaker because of the Prius and Tesla and in general lithium batteries all over the world. But big need for big batteries. So they're carrying out all of these places, and then when they're done, they have to pour the chemicals, onto the land and let it seep into the land. So these crazy deep tunnel systems that they're doing here. I mean, they're looking for all sorts of copper for cobalt. I've seen some of the mineral reports, and it's another example of why the Chilean miners got trapped, because they were going so deep, doing such crazy amounts of excavation, and getting stuck underground for 30 days. I mean, there's all sorts of stories about it. I don't need to
Those
go too deep
fools.
into that.
They're going.
Well, I mean,
they're going to awaken the Balrog.
The Phoenix, the fact that it was named. I mean, there's a lot of things that suggest that it was kind of there's some of it ritualistic or metaphorical, artistically licensed. I mean, the story itself is just too poetic. Let's put it that way.
Well,
the reality often is. But these chemical pools, I just wanted to point out, these pools here, that's all disgusting chemicals that you don't want to touch.
That's crazy. Do you know what's going on with copper right now?
In terms of prices, in terms
of everything, worldwide production.
I think about copper more than, how many times a minute does a man think about copper, right?
So I've been looking into copper this week. Just as a byline to some other things I was looking at, copper production is hurting right now. And the prices aren't reflecting yet, but some of the old copper veins and the copper mines, it's not as easy as it was to get the stuff out. And I won't say that's everywhere, but I will say it's a big enough problem that copper recycling is about to see a resurgence, I would say, in the next year.
Well, I bet you they're taking copper from people for a lot of reasons. And
Yes.
Copper's the most, I don't want to oversell it, but copper's very important
There's a reason.
medically.
There's a reason that, and now keep in mind the entire copper industry for creation of products using copper, 10% of that comes from recycling. Now, 10% isn't a whole lot, but when you consider one of the most well-known, one of the most valuable metals that we mine on large scale, 10% is a lot. We've been hurting for copper for long enough that most products are seeing a transition from being pure copper wire to copper-coated aluminum wire. And this exists in your washer and your dryer and other things like that. It's still conductive, but it uses just a fraction of the amount of copper that we used to use. We're getting smarter about it, but we're realizing that copper's not infinite.
Also, copper's really a powerful thing. It's like, it's a magical tool. So, for instance, planes now, they're moving away from aluminum planes towards carbon fiber Airbuses that have thin copper film in the carbon fiber. So if it gets hit by lightning or something, it'll discharge the static electricity.
Yeah, it's a monofilament layer. I've got a father-in-law who works at Boeing.
This is a big reason why the copper is destroying Chile and the mining is destroying Chile is,
What you're looking at there is a picture of slag dumping. What they're going to do after that cools, they're going to bust it up into 1 million pieces and sell it as concrete geopolymer additive. It actually really helps in the setting process of concrete.
I'm seeing a good picture of mining pollution. Because some of the things look really beautiful. Is the weirdest part. You've got these kind of ruins, and then these hills, and then they've got colors that just, well, that's not as exciting. But this part, you get some of these colors that'll be. Here you go. Some of that stuff is just really pretty colorful.
Oh yeah, it looks like Old Faithful of Yellowstone.
Bloody waters and I found it to be really interesting how much work goes into this. It takes a lot of their energy and resources, and they don't get a lot out back into Chile. I think they know they need to phase out this kind of thing because pretty soon there won't be anything left. And I've driven 20 hours across parts of Chile that nothing grows anymore because it just looks like this, for
Chile used to be dangerous. All of the old tales I've heard of expeditions and holdings in Chile have just been jungles, frost, cannibalism, abandonment. I mean, everything is straight Donner pottery. Or Donner party down there.
It's very hardcore in some of the in the very south part, in the O'Higgins part, it's very different. It's a lot colder. But in the north, you know, I feel like 100 years ago, especially, but in some of these regions in the desert, a lot of those tales of being carried off by giant condors, or I mean, seriously, and giants, you know, that live in the mountains. Those are everywhere. But then, yeah, these crazy harmonic, resonant salt piles. They make they scrape the piles up, and then they up these harmonic resonance pools, and eventually they realize that they can use those salt crystals for a lot of things. So lithium is interesting because of the cars. You know, you get 10 miles around these places that you want to buy a Prius for the environment, but nothing can grow for 10 miles where it rains because of acid rain. So it's like lithium is one of the worst possible things that we mine for. And they also they think what lithium does to the human mind. You know, people love to give people lithium. It's like a electric shock treatment, and lithium are two favorite things. But salt, just regular sodium chloride salt that is used in humans, is such a powerful electric conductor. And I think that's something that is being undersold about all this, is that there's actually an effort to get humans desalted and to take their salts away from them, and also the minerals in them, and getting away from the copper that's in humans.
It's such a wild thing. Everything has a bioelectric signal. I mean, you emit it when you squeeze your forearm, like when you squeeze into a fist. If we were to reduce our bioelectric signal enough, I mean, you want to get onto crazy theories, that'd be a death blow to the human, to the soul.
There was something we were talking about earlier that was kind of interesting. I think this morning we mentioned something about Xerox and CTC, and I think that could get into bioelectric stuff pretty fast. So maybe I should try to re-say that, because I thought that was interesting. So earlier we were talking about the history of Xerox, or Park Research Lab. So let me open up Park Research Lab first. Park Research Center with the Palo Alto Research Center, and it was created by Xerox, and Xerox was created by IBM, and IBM was originally created by CTC, and CTC tabulating company, let me see if I can pull it up, made typewriters and cash registers back in the good old days. So what happened was, a long time ago, they made Central Related Tabulating Company made these machines that were especially useful for cash registers, but then they started working with women's garments, well, actually just textiles. And they took the textile machine, the codex, because the code, the way a textile works, it's woven with a pattern, which is actually encoded into the tapestry. They use that same system to do a census for the United States and for the Soviet Union, maybe even before the Soviet Union. I can't remember, but they did a European census and an American census. This was when CTC became IBM, and they switched over from being, Central Related Tabulating Company to, being this international business machines company, so they could sell things around the world. And the next step, military and government contracts, because census, work was, the government needed these big numbers to be accurately measured. Also interesting is their logo. So CTC, IBM eventually doing government machines had vacuum tube systems, and these vacuum tube systems were being used with electromagnetic memory that was done by Memex, Vannevar Bush. Is that how you spell that? Von Aver Bush, was not to be confused with W. Bush, but if you want to, you can. But he's a very interesting man, and he said, I saw nothing at Roswell, but I had a great idea. Let's invent the internet and electromagnetic memory systems, and eventually we'll be able to upload our minds onto the internet through a thing I'll call, Xanadu. So he's kind of interesting, and about 6 months after him and his old Magic MJ12 team were in New Mexico, things like MEMX and the MOSFET semiconductor came out, just like, it's very Terminator, you know, like we found the chip and we got it out. So that was very important for IBM, because then the government was like, cool, we have a product for you to use. But IBM needed first to digitize this information in a way that they could see. They said, all right, well, we need printers. So somebody had an idea to make a printer for IBM, and they said, this machine is way too cool for you to control. And I actually think IBM themselves said, I don't think we have the resources to focus on this. So it spun off into its own company, Xerox. And I wish I could remember off the top of my head the joke what the name comes from, because it doesn't mean it's ditto, because, you know, they started making dittos. It was like their Xerox history. The Haloid Photographic Company, founded in 1906, manufactured paper equipment, photographic paper equipment. So this was their ditto company machine, and it made duplicates, you know, in carbon copies. In 1938, Chester Carlson, a physicist working independently, invented a process for printing images using an electrically charged photoconductor-coated metal plate and dry powder toner. However, it would take more than 20 years of refinement before the first automated machine to make copies was commercialized, using a document feeder, scanning light, and a rotating drum. It was Joseph C. Wilson, credited as the founder of Xerox, who took over Haloid from his father. He saw the promise of Carlson's invention in 1946. That's the magic year. Signed an agreement to develop it as a commercial product. Wilson remained as president and CEO of Xerox until 1967. So right there, they didn't really say where the name, they changed it to Haloid Xerox. Oh, there it is. Okay. Haloid coined the term xerography from two Greek root words meaning dry writing. There it is, right there. Xerography is the dry photocopying technique. It is let's look at this picture, by the way. Xerography. That's a like. I'm saving that. I like that one. Xerography is the dry photocopying technique, fundamental principle invented by American physicist Chester Carlson and based on Hungarian physicist Paliszenes' publication. Oh, who's this guy? 1884, wouldn't you know it, father of xerography and the Tungsram Corporation, the largest, oldest, internationally most prestigious firm known for producing light bulbs and electronics in Budapest, Hungary. Wow, this is a much better Wikipedia page. Notice how the Hungarians are able to do stuff. Give them some credit when it's due. I'm pretty impressed. The Tungsram MX radio bulb. So this is interesting because it's a company that commanded tungsten, clearly, you know, and not just that. This RAM part makes me think of Rama. So the energy that, you know, light energy that's being produced by tungsten, and tungsten is kind of often confused with gold. They mix. There's a lot of gold that has tungsten in it.
Yeah, but tungsten is even more dense than gold and mercury both.
Yeah, they use it for weaponry. You've heard about the tungsten rods, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Throwing rods from the sky.
Well, that's a funny thing. Let's get crazy here. The electrical discharge from a body entering our atmosphere would destroy that tungsten. It would splinter it. And I mean, like 1 million micro splinters. So this tungsten rod has to be launched from upper atmosphere. I don't think it could even leave the atmosphere. Little segue into, do we have a space or not? But yeah, that
you know, that's going to be an interesting. It's going to be an interesting week for me because I'm meeting up with several people that are quite, you know, like the conspiracy guru guy who does the songs, and also Stellium are both pretty adamant on but on due course. They have evidence. They've shown some pretty important things with evidence, and I think it would be a disservice for anyone to just ignore that. There's a lot of things that make it hard for me to play with that reality. If we lived, let's say, completely in just this like simulation where we're in a dome, like, and that's all it is. I feel like that would make it difficult to play with a lot of this other level of electrostatic theory for some people, though, and that's why I think it's a little bit more holographic than that. So it's described in space-time, like as a moment, but otherwise it could be looked at as a Mobius strip. And I don't know. I'm pretty sure if you called the universe a Mobius strip, it would offend less people. I don't know why, but that seems the way things are headed. So at the same time, I wonder, does it matter? And maybe it does. Like maybe we're supposed to be offensive. Like, why is it like that they're trying to ease us into believing that something far away is coming? And why? Because they're talking about this new meteor that's headed towards Earth.
Oh, goodness.
The God comet, or the chaos god, I think it's named, or something like that. Like, NASA wants us to be concerned with this, this imminent, like, National Enquirer-esque movie threat. And it's like, okay, but
NASA wants us, and I won't say any more on this because it's such a huge subject. NASA wants us to believe that there are stringent qualifications and criterion for putting a man in space. And then they put out a fat man in space. His name is Tingle.
Yeah, fair enough. And
they also want us to believe that no one is on wires in their space videos. They're really bad at it. It's ruining the space idea. It could have validity, but not if you're watching NASA.
Yeah, I think that's another funny thing. They used to have really bad television that was like, I remember back in 2001 or 3, there was like to 6, there was just like rocket launch videos that didn't look very convincing at all. I was like, wait, is this old, or like what's going on, or like is NASA doing rockets? Or and if you press for it, you find out that they're like, yeah, we're just testing this old thing. And now there's plenty of footage. It's just all really artistic, like you said. It's like very high production values. Like they're trying to do a Disney's kids surfing news show, they're like, oh yeah, it's amazing what you can do with your drinking Tang upside down. Like, what is the whole point of that?
And we just swallow the toothpaste.
I don't really know if maybe the point is to get people to not believe in it, though, because they're like, they don't want you to think that is it safer for people to dismiss it and then all of a sudden to be destroyed by it? Or is it's easier for people to be possessed by something they believe is outside than inside? Because inner space is, essentially a more traumatizing concept for some reason, that the demons can be all around us or something like that. It seems a little bit scarier somehow than extraterrestrials. And maybe it's because they have a commanding ability to turn it inside out and say, oh, this isn't the same thing. It's an alien, and it's ET, and it's safe. So maybe that's a big part.
I think a large part of that is you are less inclined to be up in arms about everything or anything if everything is boring.
Mm-hmm.
And so what is the world? There are no gods, there are no demons. Religion isn't real. Space is so far away from us being in it as a people that everything just goes back to boring. So you turn on your television and watch American Idol. And I watched the latest SpaceX launch, and they cut away from the landing of the main rocket. They were landing all 3 after they launched them. They were looking at the launch pad, and then the feed cut, and then it cut back on, and the main rocket had landed on the ship, and the clouds are completely different. And I was like, damn it. No. I hated that I was looking for something. Nyarlathotep. Yes, sir.
got some. Did we already do? Did I talk at all about the old Mother Hubbard thing?
No, tell it.
Okay, so I was thinking, like, we're looking into these old stories, and some of these old stories are really, like, obviously about Tartaria, and some of the best examples is like they're being augmented by cultures, but you get some of the stuff like is just impossible to ignore. And one of the ones I liked a lot, I think, was Mother Goose, because Mother Goose you'd think would be from Britain, right? But then, like, you know, there's like a story that Mother Goose's son had her arrested and published her stories to show that she was um, like an anti-royalist. But then there's like so many examples. Like there's so Charles Perrault was a royalist in the French court who wrote Mother Goose stories, and then Edmund Spenser was an English poet who supposedly had the exact same story, and that's the one I had heard it happened to. But then I found out that there's actually another Miss Hubbard in the Americas, in the 1690s, supposedly. So where are you going to find this Mother Goose thing? But it's like it could very well be true. I mean, Isaac Goose, like Isaac is the name. There's a lot to this like Vergoose. Looking into the story of the goose and like Von Goose. Well, Goose got me thinking about Nostradamus and Madame Blavatsky because they tell stories that are about these, anthropomorphic animals that are, there's a certain amount of prophecy that's hidden in there. And that made me think of Nostradamus and Madame Blavatsky also because Bielich means squirrel, and so Madame B. So I was thinking about Madame Blavatsky and Moose and Squirrel were probably the Hollywood interpretations of some of these old myths, the way they've been augmented in a way that like you're not supposed to really recognize them, but they're so clear, and so right in front of your eyes, you can tell that they're like about these old things. I think we've already talked about Disney being a Rosicrucian, and he was really interested in trying to get all this kind of information out into the public. Well, he made Rocky and Bullwinkle, and it doesn't say Walt Disney Productions on it, but it's because he created RKO Pictures distributor alternative Buena Vista. He wanted to get out of the Hollywood controlling his picture distribution. So he started this company called Buena Vista Pictures, and in the name of his kids, and while they were like still young. And then by the time they were like 18, they were multimillionaires for running it. And the main thing that it first did was it produced Rocky and Bullwinkle. So it didn't have the Disney name, but it was such a weird cartoon. And it has, epic fables about, the mouse and the lion. Is the old fractured fairy tales about eating nightshades and then Cinderella. But there's also like the law of equivalence. So there's the moose and the squirrel, and then there's Nostradamus, and there's Madame Blavatsky. There's this Boris and Natasha-like character that are the equal and opposite of the Belchka squirrel and of Nostradamus. And also, yeah, Nostradamus, like, it seems like Our Lady's moose, So that connected to the idea of the tower that's been destroyed. So I know I'm taking philosopher's license, but that was something I thought I wanted to bring up.
Damn,
Mike,
Tiny Toons were
Mike,
great.
God damn it, Mike. I didn't ask you to get my screen selected, huh?
No, but I've been paying attention, so I've been sharing it at the right times.
Oh, yeah? You got the squirrel? Cool. That's all I
I
wanted.
got the squirrel, I got Rocky and Bullwinkle, I got the Tartarian straight right in front of your eyes stuff. We're good, we're good.
Cool. I really like this picture of the squirrel, and so I just wanted to make sure.
There you go. Everyone can see it.
So Nathan, did you hear about
Well,
Lee's?
Is there where's
Fascist?
Victor? Is Victor? Did you already?
Can you not hear me, Andreas?
Victor's talking right now. Can you hear him?
No.
Oh,
Am I only able to hear like you and Nathan? I'm pretty sure so far I haven't heard anybody speak but you and Nathan.
Oh no.
Should I perhaps
Oh,
rejoin?
okay. So I should get out of this group and start over.
Wait a sec, Andreas. Okay?
So you guys can hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
Yeah,
gets
yeah.
edited, right? You can hear me. Hello.
Yeah.
Yes.
Haley.
Yes.
Yay.
Lee, I like your
Can you hear me
point.
now, Andres?
Oh my gosh. So you mean the whole time was I talking to
Feedback.
people a lot? It's embarrassing. I didn't know anything.
It
hear you.
happens.
I hear you, Victor. What's up?
Okay, good. So it's very interesting. There was a whole lot. I'll have to rewatch a lot of it to yeah. But basically, earlier today, me and Mike, Lee, and I were talking in Discord, and Lee mentioned this idea. Lee, do you wanna talk about it?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for bringing it up. Well, it's just simple, really, because I was thinking, I've noticed how the fasces resembles like a cable. Like, it has insulation. It has different aspects, different layers. And I was kind of thinking that maybe the fasces themselves were a kind of modular cable, something that could be connected end to end as a power cable, or but also as a battery or a weapon. So I reckon they probably had multiple purposes, but the way I see it is that there could be, the way it's been designed seems to be something that allows energy or an electrical charge to travel through it, simply because of the shape and the way it's been put together. I don't really understand too much about electronics and stuff like that, but all you need to do really is put some metal together and you've got a circuit, isn't it? Something like that anyway. And I'm just kind of thinking, well, if you had an army full of people, each carrying a fasces, and they were all in formation, and then you wanted to very quickly assemble this cable for whatever purpose, what you'd have to do is get them in formation just to lay it down and put it together, and it would be it's like a portable energy source. And if it's coming from the ether or free energy that's all around us, that's even more interesting. It seems like you could probably use it for many purposes. So I thought that was a very interesting coincidence that they resemble each other.
It's very
Aurora had
interesting.
another.
Imagine being able to assemble them. You carry a lot of fasces, as we have seen on the many depictions, to a battlefield, and then you stack them, and then you create like this long fasces, amplified power, or focused power, or concentrated power. I just imagine that would be doable.
What if the
And
fasces isn't the circuit itself? It completes the circuit, like you're carrying around a fuse.
Yes, I think it acts as a battery as well. It's gonna probably contain perhaps a charge of its own anyway.
Do you think the fasces and the Ankh as kind of correlated symbols? Because I kind of do at this point.
yes, the Ankh was probably one of the symbols that were venerated to a large extent.
I kind of imagine the fasces is a sort of a tool that works for the. Imagine maybe that the Ankh needs the fasces for the energy source. Imagine the way that
that exists.
I've seen
when you see the staffs on hieroglyphs, you can see these gods holding the Ankh or their various tools, but they're also holding the rod, and the rod wound with copper. And you see them hold it at different spots in the rod, which works exactly like a crystal radio. You're interrupting the coil's length with your hand, and therefore changing the flow of electricity. So you're tuning it by holding it where you hold it. And so you can see them holding it at the halfway mark, a third of the way up, a third of the way from the top, all of that. So, I mean, pre-fasces, the rod is the Egyptian fasces, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe they're just like I kind of imagine they work together, like that. But maybe they are, at one point they were one thing. But there's something about the fasces that seems like it's more of the energy source for like the supercapacitors wound up. You could have a lot of energy stored up in these pieces, and then that could power with the Ankh. Could either spin. I think the Ankh is the electromagnetic center of a fan or a turbine. So either a generator or a fan.
What if you guys, besides Mike, might not be familiar with Warhammer 40K, but I love it. So does Mike.
Oh, sure.
But every ship has a command throne, and usually the ship's captain is built into it. They're one with this command chair. Now imagine if...
What's that fort called? That big one. The Blackstone, never mind.
The Blackstone Fortress and the Ramillies class star forts. But what if any throne in any throne room required that the two guards holding the fasces plug them in to create essentially a power chair, a golden throne, and just a simple connection of the circuit? So if the pharaoh or the king or the emperor says, turn the temple on, his two lifeguards plug the fasces in.
Oh yeah, that's very interesting. Could be like an external power source.
Yes, and that means that his honor guard or lifeguard, they take the power with them wherever they go.
Yeah.
And all it has to be is a magnet surrounded by flat wound or round wound conductive material. I like your idea, Lee, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. I mean, I got it from it first came to me when I was watching Martin Lee. He's made a lot of discoveries. He was the person I first found out about the fasces from.
Mm-hmm.
I just remember looking at it and just thinking, well, it looks like you can put them together end to end. And if that was the case, why would they do that? Oh, what if it's a cable of some kind, like an old-fashioned? It was just their form of a cable or some kind of conduit in which to channel energy. So, I mean, the axe itself, I'm not really sure how that would fit into it, but I mean, it could be that the axe blade acted as some kind of earthing or grounding aspect. That might be necessary. Yeah. I don't know. I don't really understand it.
At least sometimes I've seen it's called the labrise. Sometimes it's a double-headed axe. Sometimes it's just one-sided axe, it seems. But it's called a labrise, and it has this weird modality of being somehow technological and also a moon calendar. Very interesting. Right. But I have a picture or depiction of an old monument where a labrise is used as the finial or the antenna on the building. So that, to me, at least suggests that that form, it also resembles the inverted crescent that you see on a lot of finial and antennas on churches. So I think it has to do with whatever the finials are doing. And so that would be something to do with atmospheric electricity, primarily, I think. Or at least it has that modality. But why it would be used on the fasces, I have no idea still.
I think that it may have been symbolic then. If we continue in the vein that a fasces completes the circuit, turns the architecture on, then it wouldn't be used all the time or even frequently. So that head would be removable. It would be ornamental.
Or there might
Symbolic.
be like this, it might be that it has this metallic rod as an axe would have, and then you know, make it go back and forth to create some type of energy excitation.
Could be.
That has been put forward by Martin, but yeah, we don't know. And sometimes the fasces has all sorts of other types of spears and axe heads and swords in it. It's weird.
Right. It could have been a multi-purpose object that could link. That could be a weapon, a battery, a cable, anything that links to the architecture.
And later on, just a symbol once people forgot.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's the other aspect that the Tartarians, or at least the Scythians, I think, were nomads, or the Mongolians. I don't know which one. They're all the same, basically, aren't they? So, if they were nomads and they were going from place to place, the likelihood of needing a portable object of some kind would be much more valid. So, and also, I think Viktor did mention earlier during our conversation about how things like organs and other types of musical instruments or things like that were built into the architecture itself, perhaps were actually a method or a way of manipulating the frequency or the energy itself and directing it in a sense. So
you won't find that.
Well, I guess
you won't find that anywhere more than you will find that in India. That's almost all I've been seeing in the past month is the tunability of rock, the singing rocks that you find in Pennsylvania. You can hit them and they ring, but when you remove them from the area,
like
they
crystal,
don't ring.
resonating crystal glasses.
Yes, there's even Shiva's musical instrument, which is a rock the size of a 2-bedroom house. And it rings
very interesting.
It has something that also looks like a fascist too, like a double-headed drum type of thing as well, doesn't he?
Yes.
So I was thinking just now about graphene and supercapacitors, because you're talking. If I get the whole decorative thing, but like if I had the way I live my life is I've got an electronic device and I have a battery. You know what I mean? So you've got this like machine that you got to plug into places. So you've got supercapacitors, which are kind of like batteries, but what they are, they're little stacks over and over again that are in the fasces. And when they're all bound together, you know, they can be used like in unison. They can be easily hit with a little bit of light, and then the light will then cause an electrical charge. So you can swap them basically. You can plug your device in to a new battery section, you know. So maybe that could be a reason why you take your on off of your fasces, because it's like it's disconnectable, and you can replace that part, you know, every time, because it could be storing energy with salt crystals or chemicals from water and vinegar. You know, there might be ways that they were using those that were a lot more sophisticated than just chemical batteries. And capacitors are more interesting than batteries because of the electromagnetic quality from the light. Like the radiation from the sunlight makes it just polarize, and then you have collections of energy that you can charge instantly.
That's interesting.
We're not thinking about something. The fasces are bound rods. What if you just take them apart?
Well, then you have each individual
like that.
Each individual
they're bound like that to be taken apart regularly.
Well,
I
they're
was
not
telling Lee that if each of them are magnetized, then they actually could be used. Say 2 fasces, each is bound by 8 rods on the outside. So you've got 16 plus the 2 main rods. You could create a magnetic field array, an antenna array. If you're in the field, unbind the fasces and just hammer them into the ground.
Interesting.
So if we talk about mobile power, there's a solution.
Well, everything about batteries is fascistic. like, I don't know if you're sharing mic, but if you could show my screen, the idea of a battery unit is essentially that you want to take as many cells as possible and attach them together. This is, you know, often done in a pretty square looking way these days, but deep down, you know, it's not. It's all done in these sphere, like fascistic spheres. Also, the old computers are in the old days were done that way as well. Like the Cray, I think it's called. Cray computer, is that right? They did this at an angle fascistically as well. These computers were designed to have everything at a circular point so that you could get in the center of it, and you could be the axe head and you can move from one point to the other point, but they're all at a close attachment. Easily.
Damn, that's cray.
So cray, yeah.
Now, even with separating the fascies, you could link those together with metal wire and increase the field area, thereby increasing strength and power in some instances.
But you can also, it's true. You could separate it theoretically, although it would be crazy to do that. You could.
It wouldn't be cray like that.
Yeah.
Look at that.
That's pretty cray.
But if you had gone to a place with a strong magnetic field, the Earth is full of these ley lines, hammer them into the ground and absorb more ambient energy, and then the central rod of each fascies would be a collection point. And we always talk about these aerials, all of these towers that go up. What if you needed these in the field for communication? If you're an army on the march or a general. Faces.
The other faces.
You just search faces.
I do like that band. The other thing is, like, a fasces is clearly decorative to me because this is not the most convenient axe head. Like, you could use, like, you notice people that use axes don't use fasces. Like, most people have like a decent axe head that's like a decent tree branch that's like a specific kind of tree branch. See, here's like a tree branch with an axe attached to it. Like, this is decorative or an actual tool for some other purpose. Like, someone wanted to unroll a mat. Like, there's some other reason that you've got all of these beams here than just to hold a giant bundle of sticks while you're swinging an axe. Like, it just doesn't physically seem comfortable.
That's the only way an axe works.
It's more comfortable to use just like a, this guy right here. Just
my axes all have bundles of sticks.
You love bundles of sticks? I would try it. I would like to try it. I shouldn't knock it till I've tried it. But this guy, look at him right here. He looks like he could lose a finger. I mean,
yeah, I get your point.
No, there's no way. Yeah, no, sorry. I'm looking at it and I'm decided. There's no way that this was designed to ever be used for the convenience of having a bunch of sticks bundled together.
Of course.
So what about the people who want to see it as just like this overly grotesque axe that you just swing around with?
Yeah, not. That's my point. Like, it's whoever said that is an intellectual and not an actual axeman. And an actual axeman will tell you that that's ridiculous and go out and try it. Unless they're a good person, in which case they'd tell you, please don't. But there's something decorative. I think we'll all admit, everyone in history class will admit that this was about solidarity. This was about unison. Each one of these staffs represented a staff from somebody. I don't know if it's
a
from,
rod or scepter of power from one of the city-states.
Right. It might not be from the soldiers. It might not be from the conscripted soldiers. It might be from the conquered city-states.
Yes. Each clan leader. But it also looks a bit musical right there.
It does.
It looks like a rowdy pan flute.
It looks like a machine gun, like a Gatling gun. It looks like a lot of futuristic artillery. It looks also like copper pipes or gold pipes. Pipes that could have been used for all sorts of things.
It's the way it's arranged. All of those tubes next to each other, bound together, and then the central tube. It's just something very. We base our own fucking excuse my language. We base our technology on very similar principles when we compare it to things like fiber optic cables and stuff. It's just, it's just I just couldn't get over the resemblance. And
Please getting a duck.
Thanks for doing that, actually, because that helps. You know, I would have probably almost just lost it if it weren't for that. But Lee, you're right. Also, I mean, you're ducking right, because look at the leather strap around it on top of everything else is like a mitzvah. It's like what you bound a hand in the morning. You bind your hand when you're doing a mitzvah. This cow leather strap. And they're doing it to this weapon here, which is, you know, being made into a tool that can't be used as a weapon anymore. It's just carried around symbolically to point out, you know, that they're more powerful because of it together. So,
well, yeah, you could understand why that is a very good explanation for
think about why
the object.
Political. It's not just political. That's what I'm trying to say, right? It's like why it's a supercapacitor, a battery is more powerful when you bind it together. Like battery bank. Let's type in battery. Not totally bank. Sounds like the wrong kind of thing. Battery bank. So a battery bank, and I've built a few of these, can kill you. Because if you have all of this energy and then a solar panel runs through, you know, let's say 600 milliamp hours, it's even enough to kill you probably. Your Prius can kill you. You know, not mine because I don't have one, thank God. But these things have to have a discharge bank. So you have a bank of batteries empty so that if too much energy flows out, it flows into the other bank and it doesn't explode because there needs to be a place for it to go. So I mean, essentially, they're not lying to you when they say they're stronger together, because it's literally each one of them, you know, accumulated is stronger together. But I think that there might be more to it than just some propaganda message. I think they're literally trying to say, like, look, you can get a whole bundle of supercapacitors together, and you can attach it to an Ankh, right? So where's that Fatsy's Ankh? Saw something earlier. Well, let's go to a picture of it.
Have you guys seen the fascies at Oxford University?
Send me that. Show that.
Want to show, Nathan?
Yeah, I forgot how to screen share. Here's the button.
The green arrow thingy.
And now I'm sharing. Here we go. Look at that.
Oh yeah, it points.
Whoops. What did I just do?
Perpendicular.
Where are you? What am I looking at? I can't see.
I'm looking at the. Am I sharing the screen?
Yeah, I'm seeing it coming out of the lines.
The golden line with the fascies coming out of its mouth.
Mike, click
looks
on
like
it.
it's
Make sure.
plugged in like a key.
Right, or yes, or like a plug, like a socket.
It's just weird that.
And you know, in the images of the fascies, the lion actually does appear as an additional element of the ornamental ones, in addition to the axe. I've seen a few pictures with a little lion attached to it too.
I've seen it. I've seen it. I have an example of it, Lee, on a hydraulic where you can see that where they have mounted small little statues of baby angels that you would be able to screw off the statue, and underneath it there would be a pump or a chamber. So it's very it's not it's a good idea that you could have ornaments, you know, covering up the technology.
Right. I mean, the lion is also. I mean, it's a very extremely symbolic thing. I mean,
the lion is the sun. The lion is the ultimate symbol of electrical power. In that sense, it's the solar power. The sun.
It's also meant to be the form in which Yaldabaoth and the Archons take. You know, the lion with the serpent body.
Yeah, and a Leo always pays his debts.
A representation of what magnetism or magnetic fields, or was it plasma energy?
Oh yeah, and if you think about it, all this talk about reptilian archons and, you know, these beings possessing human skin, and then suddenly you see those slit eyes coming forth. What if the reptile is a cover-up for a cat's eye?
Could could be. They can be quite similar.
They have nearly the same, and you see all the sexual depravity. Cats are known to be, very sexual, and especially lions are known to have this very homosexual tendency, where they even,
Well, the Archons raped
kill
and
each other.
violated Eve. That in Nag Hammadi, the Archons were very lustful, and they desired Eve because she was beautiful, and she resembled the image that they saw in the reflected in the water, and they desired her, and then they violated her basically. So it would make sense, they're basically very lustful creatures that had no qualms about raping people.
Yeah, they would be Jupiterians in that sense, as we know. Learning about Zeus and his sexual appetite is one of the
but at that same time, women stories shift, right? So then you go so that's interesting, because in the Uyghur times in Africa, in the Barbers and the Tartar times, there are in the ancient pre-Egyptian times, there are these tales of women who have been abused, and then they end up becoming judges of men, which is an interesting, the court systems that we have today. We wear wigs in Britain. They do this because of the Egyptians, because of the women. So it's a cross-dressing cult. But then at the same time,
it's denoting the lunar astrology that is still in power and has been ever since the flood, the biblical flood that would have happened in the age of Cancer, which would be
they change it
the
after
destroyer.
It's gone to heliocentric though, isn't it?
After they change though, I think I forget. I'm sorry, Victor. Does it go from Cancer to Leo, or how does it work with the?
It's Leo. No, it'll go backwards, won't it? So it'll be Gemini.
Okay, so this is funny that it would go Gemini, because the next step after this story shift.
Exactly. It would go from water to air.
So the Minotaur stories, right? So the King Midas, and you've got Daedalus and his son Icarus. Is that right? Am I getting the names right? Because I want to screw the story up. So you've got this maze, and you've got this wife of this king who wants to evade her. The king wants to keep the wife safe, and he wants to keep his family away from anything dangerous. And so he builds this maze to keep. Oh, let's get to the beginning here.
Oh, you broke up a bit.
Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me?
You're good here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they build he's got a Minotaur to defend the maze, and his wife decides to build a bodysuit to look like a bull so that she can get the Minotaur to have sex with her, because she finds this Minotaur to be more virile and enticing than her husband. And then, in order to do that, she has to get the same guy who built the maze for her husband, for the Minotaur, to build her the suit. So it's like, then the king's really annoyed, because he's like, I built this maze in order to protect everyone from the Minotaur, and I paid this guy to do it. But then the same guy my wife paid, to get with the thing I was trying to protect everybody from. So then Daedalus is all afraid for his life, so he has to build a pair of wings for him and his son, and then they fly off. But when they fly over the sea, they fly too high, and he's like, don't fly any higher because you're getting too close to the sun. When he falls to, Icarus falls when his wings melt to the sea. But it's an Athenian myth that comes from the next period, because it's a switching. So it's interesting that it's Gemini, because all of a sudden you've got this quantum psychology story of a king who is trying to keep his ego safe. So he's got this kingdom, which is his ego, and the feminine, the recessive part of him, needs this virile masculinity, but he's taken his masculinity and he's sequestered it. He's put it in a maze. So he's got this Minotaur, which is his primal essence, his essential masculinity. So then she needs that. So she goes for it. In order to get that, she has to disguise herself. And, he's even got, the intelligent aspect of himself is Daedalus. But then once he learns how to cope with this destruction, and, he becomes the sun going towards the actual sun, and the sun in Athenian mythology is God. So reaching the Godhead destroys him when he becomes one with the Godhead, and he can't actually become one with the Godhead, so he falls into the sea, and the sea is Poseidon, which is, you know, the whole flood myth, you know.
I'm stuck on fascies again, which
Oh wait, when can you share the screen for a second? Also, we're talking about fascies. I wanted to show. So here's my thought about the Ankh having fascies actually used in the center here, and you just
Oh yeah.
attach it in.
that's the symbol right there. You see that tiny rod in the middle?
Yeah,
That's a depiction of a full-size rod, which
the
they
rod of
think
Horus.
used as tuning.
Oh yeah. That think
That's-
about the comfort of the rod. The Lord comforts me with his staff. So so yeah, what's all that about? But
Right? Who's comforted with a staff? They beat you with a staff. You know what I mean? Yeah,
but
comforted.
on the old tarot deck, you see the hermit carries a staff.
Mhm.
It is very much connected to Aquarius and the air and air transmissions, and therefore also electricity. But yeah, I wanted to also make a symbol into a device today, just as you have done, Andreas, with the ink, or tried to. I'm gonna try as well. So I'm gonna screen share your entire screen. Yes. Okay. So just tell me when you're seeing what I'm seeing. So are you seeing my screen?
Mike, share your screen. Mike,
Oh, is Mike there?
Is that it?
there we go.
Oh, so you're seeing the Hierophant cross now.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. So this cross has been, and there you go again with the sign of benediction. But this cross is very important in symbology, and you'll see many people having all sorts of meanings for this. And I've always wondered what exactly was the meaning behind having, you know, a double cross, a triple cross, and a single cross. The crowns in the legal world would represent the free sestiqui trusts that the papal, the free papal bulls that came out 500 approximately years ago. So yeah, so what's up with this? So I found this on Gallica, and before I show you, it's just like this weird assembly of people.
Yes.
And they're looking at there's all weird imagery here. It's a pyramid, three suns, astronomical phenomena, mermaid, could be Phoenician, I don't know. And then there's an Athanar, so it's definitely alchemical knowledge in this. And here you go.
Whoa,
This guy's holding the triple cross, or the Hierophant's cross, and he's basically using it as a telescope.
Yeah, or aerial. Like it kind of almost looks like an aerial antenna.
Well,
yeah,
if I had a better version, you could see that he's actually closing one of his eyes.
Oh, okay.
He is, yeah.
So yeah, he's looking. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember this.
Yeah. So and I thought to myself, this makes sense now, because this is the Hierophant. It's a high position of knowledge. He would know the script of the stars. And this is the Saturn and Jupiter conjunction, which is very important for human affairs and power, to know those cycles. And how does he know that cycle? By this.
Just like Gulliver's Travels. Wow. That's very interesting. Very astute observation.
So
to be able to see.
And this cross is very old. We don't know how old this could be. So Galileo Galilei and his telescopes can, for my sake, bugger off.
Wow. Yeah, okay. I was thinking it could also be, you could think of it as a metaphor, that it's like he's able to see using it, but it's actually that it's like an aerial antenna that's electrical, and like
But look
there's
at
no way to
this. It
describe
has
it.
this. I was looking for possible
Kaleidoscope.
telescopic instruments.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but that's a
I was looking
kaleidoscope.
for possible optical instruments that has this
Focusing
cross section within them, and I've had a hard time locating examples of.
No, I mean
such
that's
Oh my goodness,
that
those-
was not.
But I
that was
found
perfect.
this to be
That was
quite
perfect. Yeah.
Victor, that's
close.
orgone.
Yeah.
That no, I think I've actually seen at some point a focusing rod, like it wasn't even a kaleidoscope, but looked like a kaleidoscope like that. But you can use it to
know what
focus.
those are.
This is copper and minerals.
Yeah, well, that's in a kaleidoscope.
This
I
is-
think that. Sorry, Mike. Continue.
No, this is an organite device. That's all I wanted to say. Your turn.
An organite
the-
device. Wait. Can you
Hierophant's cross.
explain I want to go back. Mike, explain an organite device using the kaleidoscope and shining light through it into your eyes as an organite device, because that's fascinating.
Nathan is far better at explaining orgone than I am.
Okay, I'll screen share.
But is that what you're saying? You're saying that a kaleidoscope tool shines light through organite into your eyes, and then that's good for you?
I was on the same type of thing. The kaleidoscope is a
Oh, you're
purely.
breaking up, Andreas, again.
Who, me or him?
I'm not talking.
Oh, it's really bad now. Maybe you should rejoin.
Okay, here we go.
To see how orgone and organ goes together quite neatly.
Do you see this?
Spain. Hello?
Hello.
Wow.
Is this better?
Yeah, I'm seeing it.
Wow. Yeah.
Now, orgone is just another word. We all know this. When I say no, just imagine quotations around it. It's an ion displacement device. That's it. It just encourages the movement of free ions. When you put them in the ground, completely separate. Now imagine you have, and I'm just running with Mike's orgone idea as a kaleidoscope. You're engaging in an amateur attempt to filter the light, which is where I was going with your Hierophant's cross.
Mm-hmm.
The Hierophant's cross looks like a spyglass, and could you possibly turn one of the crossbars inside and thereby filter out different types of light? Because you know it would be hellish to look at the sun or to look at the moon unfiltered.
That's pretty interesting.
And so if the Hierophant's cross, as Victor showed, is a spyglass, then it would only make sense that those crossbars are filters. And you just dial in the filter and... Sorry, I've got sirens.
Your ideas are too good. We're coming for you.
I think a plane went down not far from here because I saw some weird spirally contrails.
You've had too much to think.
Thinking time's over, son. No, there's
Nathan, have you been playing with your organite devices again? You shouldn't point these at aeroplanes. Come on. You know better.
no. You just plant one of these. That's a silly one. Hammer some copper stakes
have
in the
you
ground
built
with
such
closed end at
devices?
the bottom. Yeah, a couple small ones.
Oh.
Think of them like directional ion cannons or ion guns. It's gonna stream free ions in the open direction. You point this at a person, they'll have a bad day. There's your witchcraft angle. But people have been getting into trouble, a lot of trouble, putting these things at the base of 5G towers. And they can't get in any legal trouble because they're hidden, but it's generally frowned upon.
Do you think it's doing a lot of good though? It's like, is it worth a shot? I mean,
It's enough to disrupt the field.
that's pretty cool.
Hello.
Oh,
If you can redirect. Hello, Brittany.
I have a question I was going to
Tell
ask. Okay, so you're talking about shooting things out of the sky with orgone devices. And so that's like Wilhelm Reich in Contact with Space. When he aims his orgone energy device, he allegedly shoots something out of the sky. And it's right around the time when all the UFOs were being supposedly discovered.
Wow.
1951, 52, 53, 54 is the time when he finally decided to turn the device on the anomalies in the sky. And what happened to the people operating the organator, that's not what it's called, but would have seizures. One person supposedly turned a different color for a couple days. And that book, you can get it now, but when I bought it, it was like, I don't know, $1,500 is what people were asking for it. So I ended up just putting in a lowball bid and explaining that I'd spent too much money on books or whatever. So I did get a copy of it, and I've just been trying to almost link the dates to some of the, the finds, because he might have accidentally like shot down friendly, not friendly, I don't know, spy, those I don't know what you call those, the machines, I guess UFOs, but the disc devices that he could have just destroyed.
A Tall Tale of Space Gun 54.
There we go.
Wow.
But I was trying to link that for a couple of days, and I ended up getting all the 50s UFO data. There's just so much and so many sightings. So I don't know. I abandoned that, but I do think it's definitely linked. Here we go.
Here we go. On May 12th, 1954, 4 months after seeing War of the Worlds, he made his first contact with what he called space problems by aiming his cloudbuster on luminous objects in the sky from his laboratory near Rangeley, Maine, called Organon.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so they have the coordinates and the tracking. He tracked these anomalies in the sky that were a different color, and over the projection of the stars rotating, whatever, he noticed that those like things in the sky were different, and they didn't shift in the same way as the stars. And so he thought, all right, it leads up to it, and it's just like after this point, I knew there'd be no turning back to anything that we knew before, because then the light just disappears, and like I don't know what happens. Probably falls out of the sky.
This is crazy. His team had directed draw pipes connected with the deep well. That's wonderful. Mm-hmm. So your cloudbuster, just like the length of any, think of when you blow into a beer bottle half full, it makes a certain noise. Drink it more and the noise is deeper. Just like tuning rocks, tuning devices, tuning anything. We're making standard orgone on a standard frequency. These cloudbusters have pipes buried to different levels. So if you had movable pipes, tunable pipes, you could tune anything to a resonant frequency.
Oh, yeah.
And the dangerous bit about orgone,
the dark orgone,
if you're, all you have to do is place your orgone in the ground and then pool some water on top of it, making an orgone water feature. And then you connect your house's electricity to it. That's it.
Wow.
And boost your orgones.
That's so simple.
It is. They're doing it, but they're you can do a lot of damage with a thing like that.
Well, and you can do a lot of good, because I think he's credited for causing grass to grow in desert areas by drawing rain and busting clouds. Let's see, Sierra Nevada, east of San Diego, the full breakthrough of the orgone energy flow west and southeast into the desert basin. during 1955, the self-regulatory metabolic cycle process of the OR to DOR, the dark organ energy, to rain, OR energy had taken hold of the desert. So he was messing with the climate a lot, and cosmic self-regulation or energy metabolism, or in orgone energy metabolism is what that chapter's called, but it's
Holy moly, look at this. This is his
yeah,
drawbar.
that's his. They came and took that. The FDA came and jacked all his stuff and burned all his books and brought him to jail and killed him. So, or well, whatever. He died of a heart attack, which I was talking about a little bit last night with the Gestalt psychologists that came over.
What?
All happened. Yeah, they all the really good psychologists. Oh, sorry.
Psychologist.
Victor has to go soon, so he may want to present some more of his stuff.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I think you might.
We can get back to this.
Hey, yeah, I hope so. I like when you talk about this, Brittany.
Yeah,
when
it's
you
amazing.
Get excited over Wilhelm.
Yeah, I think this
Okay,
is a really
so-
great. This is a great direction. We should really be doing a lot more stuff on, you know, these like unsung heroes of like research and science. 200
Okay,
years
so
ago.
just first for the what just came through the Mudflood group was really weird. I wanted to get your guys' take on this one.
Ooh.
What is this? It looks like a cutter, a stone cutter of some
Ooh.
kind.
Maybe that's how they took those.
Oh,
Pillars
do you have this on? This is on.
No, I just got this. It's like 20 minutes ago from Joanna on the Mudflood researcher group. You know, that's why I like to stay on Facebook.
Cool.
Sometimes
Yeah.
gems come through.
So I know what you mean. There's a Facebook group I saw, the Viktor Schauberger application group, and I've been looking at. Let me just
but also, guys,
have you seen
this is the spire, of Notre Dame, and look what I caught it doing.
Right.
Ooh.
Fire.
Again with the Mercury ball,
Wow.
and this seems to be what we discussed earlier, Lee, that you have Mercury ball capacitor collects electrons from the ionized atmosphere, and then you have a bell or a collection of bells. They ring. It causes vibrations to go up into the ball, and it has collected electrons. And when the sound hits those electrons, it causes them to emit in all directions. And then you would have receivers on buildings collecting them.
So what you're talking about is acoustic kinetic excitation of electrical energy. It's changing mediums
Thank you, Nathan.
to share
Yes.
electricity.
Well, you'll notice that Notre Dame's right next to a river also. And this is the thing about the pyramids and these paths. So we're talking about the forest. You know, there's a forest there at one point, and there's a river. So one of these things I was looking at was the Viktor Schauberger stuff from some of these kids in Russia, and water in these spiraling pipes, right? So you're looking at that drill looking thing, and they've been doing a lot of Viktor Schauberger drills. I was trying to find a great example for you. There was one, I think, near the top somewhere. Where was that? This one's pretty good. I don't know if you're, Mike, if you're sharing the screen, but this Chinese guy, I think, made this. And these are spiraled pipes. So the water goes up the side of it and then spirals out and then comes out like a torque kind of
And you're not showing your screen, so you kind of have to do that first.
Oh, yeah, but wait.
am I not? I didn't even know. I'm so
Okay.
dumb.
Before we get to it, Victor, you have to go soon. You want to finish it?
Yeah, so I have a few topics. I'll just
Victor, you see this real quick, just so before you go. You
yeah,
see that?
okay.
All right. That's all.
Oh, I was ready to see your screen now.
Oh,
Sorry.
I thought you saw it. This part right here. These are the things that reminded me of the thing on that picture. I just saw these earlier. This Chinese guy.
Oh,
Ooh, girl, Global Vision has videos on towers hundreds of feet high in this shape.
And yeah, all the towers, and they all use the same vector cycle. But if you look at water patterns with these, when the water
we're gonna see something. I'm gonna show you something that will get back to that in just a second, actually.
So that was my main. I just wanted to show that. That's all.
Yeah, that's very interesting. We're gonna. Okay, so that's what I'll get to just a minute. Okay, so look at this. I think I've talked about this with a few of you. So
That's a weird folder name.
Pederastry Art Revisited. So
Whoa.
we have been talking about giants for a long time. So could pederastry art, and now I only have 2 pictures because we all know this. We have all seen the depictions. It's very vulgar, you know. But could it be, instead of adult and child, what about adult giant and adult regular sized guy having a homosexual relationship, or maybe just any kind of relationship?
Yes, they could just be bros. It's true.
Yeah, it could just be bros. I just read an article about the myth of the widespread homosexuality in Greece that some historians are refuting based on literature now, the idea that homosexuality and pederasty was widespread. And I might link that article to Andreas, so some of the viewers might read that if they are interested. So I also just thought about some of the art. You see, like, this is like a little woman holding hands with like this very tall dude. So could this be like a giant and a regular sized woman having a relationship?
That's what white guys fear about black guys and
Also
white
true.
girls.
Yeah. So I'm just
giant, you never go back. Is that? I'm just kidding.
I'm just putting that idea out there. So yeah, just moving on. I think I'll start with.
I've heard there's something about that. Once they get with giant white girls, they don't go back.
I was thinking the flip side.
Okay, so I was pretty excited about this find because I think we all knew along, and there are some architecture books that will tell you this, but this style of industrial architecture that is red bricked, it lacks ornamentation. It has a few symbols, but it generally lacks ornamentation if you compare it with the Greco-Roman style. And it has this, Asiatic Norwegian wood style around it as well. But generally, I'm very interested in the red brick architecture because I've seen a very interesting place in Denmark where we have this. It's called the Carlsberg factory in Valby, outside Copenhagen. And it has this very old tower. It's basically the same style, and it has griffins mounted on the side of it, and it's very old, and it's Russian by the looks of it, because it's the same style. It has that torsion.
I saw something just like this in Spain yesterday. I mean, similarly, stuff built right next to it. Like they didn't know what to do. They didn't want to tear it down, but they needed that space or something.
So this is distinctly Russian, according to an 1800s exposition catalog. And I found that to be a good evidence for this architecture, this industrial red brick architecture, to be Tartarian, of course, besides the griffin. But
interesting that right next to it's a factory like tower. Like there's another tower right next to it, like for some modern purpose.
This is purely Denmark, and you have this. This is, so you see the torsion again. This is Russian architecture, and you have the red brick, and you have the industry around it, and you have even elephants down here.
Wow.
And on one of the elephants' side, there is a swastika. It's just there in plain sight, a giant swastika for all Danish people to see.
Right next to Carlsberg. Oh, that's
you would if I had a better picture. It's very easy to find on Google, but there's a swastika here or here.
Don't worry, I trust you.
But yeah, you can see it's a very interesting place. It's full of Greek mythology. And
I love the Carlsberg factory. It's basically Willy Wonka's factory. I mean, it's beautiful.
It has Greek mythology all over it, and it has this red brick.
Oh, look at the basements. I never thought about that.
Oh yeah,
I didn't have the Tartarian upgrade, but look at the basements. They're insane.
Totally mud flutter here. And
yeah, what the heck? There's not even a front door, you know? It's just straight up.
And you can see here on this art is very, very low. It messes with your, perspective, I guess. You could imagine this to be very much, on this art is like cut off in half in
Right.
height, I guess. But yeah, here it is again without the yellow. Oh yeah, this is from the other side. Sorry. So you get it here from. Oh, it's the same side. And here outside again. So yeah, what I'm just flabbergasted by is that you have this Russian architecture. Now we know this in the middle of Copenhagen, and it's like it's unexplained for the most part.
Wow.
Also,
Look at that obelisk.
This is the yellow brick that is also surrounding this style. And I've seen it in many of the old factories in Denmark. It has this style of architecture.
Yeah, the all of this area in Valencia right here is very yellow brick too, and that's
This is Aarhus. It just stands in middle of industry, modern industry, but it's basically the same style. And here in Holland, I think, and here in Valby again in Denmark, this is just an old.
That is my favorite that you've shown all day.
Oh yeah, it's very cool. Yeah, and it's a mud flutter.
Wish we lived there.
That
So
could
yeah,
be
this
headquarters.
concludes the Russian architecture of industry, and it has that as we talked about before with the torsion. Look at that, how you build that torsion into it.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. Okay, so Russian architecture. Sorry to be a rush. This is like the main
Those look
topic.
Arabic to me.
Well, that's the other thing. There's something connected with this idea of Moorish and Arabic. You know, so the Muslims in Russia, you know, it was connection with the Russia's very big, and they brought a lot of people to Moscow, and Moscow got its culture differently than St. Petersburg did. So I wonder a lot about what we decide to call Russian and what we decide to call Roman, because we've been saying the rowing Rusio people, the Redmans, you know, the Redland people in Sweden that were, you know, connected to former Russia. And what is Estonia and what is Finland anymore, you know?
According to Anatoly Fomenko, he suggests that that Moscow is actually Jerusalem.
Mm-hmm.
The original
Right.
Jerusalem.
And I've got to read his stuff.
Yeah, it's a pretty weird theory, but actually it's getting to be less and less crazy sounding. I used to just think maybe he was just kind of autistic. So it might be that it was another thing very similar to Jerusalem, and
the dimensions for that for the city just miraculously fits.
Pretty perfect, you know.
Yeah.
It's the right size. I mean, there's a lot of aspects
That
though,
could
about
be another
Starport.
reason as to why that city may fit that narrative. There could be a few other explanations as to why.
I think you could probably find a number of cities that could. Is the only reason I haven't like jumped, you know, full gun in. But
that would be interesting to see if you could line it up with any other city that also would have existed at that point. But yeah, what I wanted to talk about is star forts and towers, water towers and lighthouses as the main backbone of the old Ethernet grid or telegraphic grid. And this is, we're talking 1650s to 1750s, I guess. And I found a lot of depictions where star forts are called signal forts and signal towers. And that's just a dead giveaway for me. And you have this symbol of a crossed flag coming outside of it. And I think this denotes either telegraphy or some other wireless transmission.
Yeah, just like traffic controllers use the dual flags.
So you can see down here. Another tower signal, and you have the tower of Portuang here, and it's
the Tesla coil. That's what that might be. The Fox, the flags. Maybe they're like electrical Tesla. You know how like energy rides up them.
Oh yeah, and we had the flag on the lands as well in the last post. So we're still hunting down what those flags are, but we're thinking they are part of the device. And here's that tower, as you can see over here. That's that tower here, and it has this huge mercury ball on top, and it seems to be producing steam, and it has those small dots that go along with all the the artificial fire plants that we see, and mercury balls, and it's just a very interesting tower, and it has all these lines coming from it as if it's like this huge router or
Like
It's a hub.
You gotta,
hub of connections to all these places.
you just gotta
exactly.
see what they did to the tower now. This is the tower.
Oh yeah, that's coming, Mike. We'll see how this tower looks like today. It's definitely not the same tower anymore.
Look at it. I've got it. That's one of the few lighthouses I did mark down.
Oh yeah, it's just it's completely different today. But here you see again a star fort with a tower, and you have that we talked about, the Labris Lee. That looks a bit, that could be like the Labris shape from one angle, but it's also like the crescent you see on the Turks. And Sylvie Ivanova have shown schematics where atmospheric energy devices uses this exact shape.
Right. It has to
So-
be significant if they've actually drawn it on a little landmark on a map type thing. So
What does it mean?
What do you mean? What does what mean?
The Labrie?
Oh, the Labris. You can spell it Labrys.
Is that the Y head?
Yeah, that could be the Y head. If you just give me 1 second, I think I have the Labris in here somewhere. No, I think not. Maybe you'll have to Google that if you can. So I'm gonna show you some more star forts that are using clearly these signal antennas. There's a lot of them. Look at this. It just seems to be communication. All of this. Look at how huge this one is. Look at just like the flag size. It would be like a sail on a boat, like a huge ship.
And as that flag flaps in the wind, it's going to collect
How-
friction.
Also that, but how strong does this pole have to be? Like, and more of this. It looks like the Castle Saint Angelo in Rome, but it has that finial and the wires coming off of it, as we see minarets do, and especially the Byzantine finials. They have that going on as well. And here, an energy collector, I think, on top of a star fort. So there's a lot of it. This seems to be telegraphy. I'm not sure. And yeah, so the old maps just have this all over, and I think the lighthouses and the water towers are playing in with this as well. Here again, and yeah, it's just, I think it's pretty solid.
Gondolas? Does that look like a gondola in that last one you had?
This is also pretty cool. It looks like a pagoda,
Yeah.
like a pagoda inside a star fort. And then it's smashed. And yeah, and the minaret here. And it's basically this going on. And a lot of steam production also around the star forts. And this is a photograph from the 1860s, I think.
Wow. Giant
Built
lion.
fort, and it has just like these large antennas on it. The large lion as well in front of it. It's an interesting structure. But yeah, now we're getting into the towers and just how many instances of and here you see more of this Russian architecture. And here again, the lighthouse, and it has a mercury ball, and it would be multi-purpose in the sense that we have seen already these mercury balls are able to produce light illumination. So it could be both a signal tower and a light tower.
Mercury's coming up so often now. Sylvie was talking a bunch about Mercury in New York.
Yeah, Mercury is it's a huge huge key to understanding all of this.
I knew.
Oh, wait till you see the price of mercury right now.
Huh. Really?
Oh, look at this one. This one is so large. And it has 2 antennas on top. Like, is this a furnace or a signal tower? And more starforts with antennas. It's just like a theme. Lighthouse here, huge hole, gaping hole, antenna, large flag, and
now these
towers.
These are all multi-purpose still. I mean, how many times do we see a telephone pole that has a power line on it? Or how many times do we see a satellite dish on the corner of somebody's mechanic shop? So these could also be attachments put on to existing functionality.
I was interested when I saw those power lines earlier. I saw literally like cables. It looked like a gondola system from one of the things.
That's
and yeah.
Also, guys, are you seeing this? This is a Tartarian city.
Yeah,
Right.
And
Dutch. Old Tartarian city, 10 days travel at the site of the Great Wall, situated in the desert.
wow, interesting. What does it say down?
Can you give me that picture? That could make a great T-shirt.
That you can read.
I'm so glad you can read too, Mike. I'm glad your mom made sure that you could read.
I have
That's
a lot of. Mike could be very useful because we have so much material in Dutch.
I want
There's
this as
lot
a
in
T-shirt.
Dutch. Well, I can send it to you.
I'll gladly translate the stuff.
Lynn's back.
Hey, Lynn.
Hey, Len.
Hi.
Back.
Hi.
Look at this large tower here, finial. Yeah, so
Okay, there's something about these lines. You know, they're clearly saying that there's an energy or there's a proximity that's essential to something.
yeah, about lines.
I mean, come on, look at this.
This is geomancy, I would say. And I
Well,
have
it
a whole
landscapers
folder on
Wow.
geomancy, but look at just like the insane proportions of this tower and how it's mounted in the middle, and you even have these small cottages, you know, built into the design. It's just insanely.
Which way?
Think about the engineers of this age. It's just like wow.
Cool.
And yeah, this is one Martin shows a lot. The Century Tower. Don't know if this ever was built, but the plans for it exist, and it seems like to be this. It seems to be leaning as well, and we've been discussing how whether the leaning towers there's a method to the madness, so to speak, and there might be. I think there is.
Oh, yeah, like aiming at a certain point. You know, the way satellite dishes aim at certain angles and points.
Well, yeah, could be. I'm not going to say no. Look at this one.
Wow,
It's the same thing again.
Wow.
Just a lone freestanding tower and
Interesting.
large finial
Cool.
and just geomancy deluxe.
God,
Yeah, I love that image.
I want to live there.
Yeah,
Oh, those gardens are beautiful. They're beautiful. They're so ornate.
Yeah. Yeah, you just wanna
Such-
curl yourself up and roll your like
it's
a blanket with this on.
Well, it's also interesting that at the center of the tower, I mean, around the tower are all these individual towers, kind of like the Epcot Center. Like it's like a neighborhood, but everyone's equal proportionally distant from the center, so they're all connected to each other. It seems like weirdly equal.
Yeah, like the Venus Project, kind of.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that Chinese
This is
habs.
I thought that was a weird finial or a weird finial, yeah, on this temple. Never seen anything like it. And also these like stone.
Some of those designs remind me of Brighton Pavilion, which is a very old, most likely Tartarian architecture. It's got minarets and everything.
Oh,
It's
can you
amazing.
go back to that? Were they holding something? Were those containers stone? Those. I mean, could something be in there? No, or is it just a solid mass?
And could look like those small bags that the old guys are wearing in the pictures. You know, that bag that all the ancient gods seems to be carrying on the old. Yeah, could be it's the same thing here. I don't know, but it could also
I'm
just be
talking
like a
about the
small
actual
bag.
giant structure there. Like, is there something inside of that? If that's like, what are those?
It's just, you know, in modern archaeology, everything is a temple or a tomb.
Yeah.
So you only have those options.
Yeah. I don't know.
So yeah,
Mercury
I wouldn't
holders.
go with their narrative if I were you, but this tower I just think is so cool. I think this is in Cairo or Constantinople, and it's a signal tower. I think it's not a lighthouse. Doesn't seem to be like a light. It's a signal tower. And one more here. Martin showed this. I sent it to him, to be fair, but still, Martin showed it before me.
Hey, there
this is just a crazy tower.
Wow.
It's supposed to be in France somewhere in the 1800s.
And these are all during times when the bulk of mankind is supposed to be so embroiled in war. How the fuck did we have time for this?
Yeah.
It looks like a bored man's project.
Yeah, we had too much time at one point, it would seem. Also this, very industrial, modern, and this is like very old. A metallic lighthouse, completely metallic.
That's gorgeous.
Very cool. And this one in, I think this is in, the Crenel, the Crenel column. Oh, it's just wonderful technology. Look at this. And it has a coil in here.
That is so funny. You can walk to the top through the spiral stairs.
Yeah.
And
imagine how you would be energized by all of this water around you.
In the old books that I've got up on the foundry, they show all of this. And in the wheelhouses, they would use towers like this. And in the center wouldn't be a staircase. It would be an Archimedes screw. The river would turn it itself.
This seems to be the same. This seems to be like the same type of tower, just without.
Yeah, it's all the same shapes, and the purpose may be changed. The shapes may be.
It's completely metallic, this one.
That's cool.
That's all metallic.
Is that a stairway? Oh my gosh. Looks like a water slide.
Yeah. And here you see like this telegraphic lighthouse. So here we at least see that multi-purpose in plain sight. So you have telegraph and lighthouse.
I saw that. That was awesome.
Yeah. Well, so here you have it from the horse's mouth, and you have that flag either way. Whether it's a telegraph or a lighthouse, you have that flag.
You guys, you know about the... Yes, I love this picture.
Oh yeah, this is from the Paris exposition, and it's in front of the obelisk. And these seems to be these were before, and they're gone now, of course, but they just look like atmospheric technology.
Yeah, that's like the organator or the space gun pipes, like just going across.
Oh, Andreas, do you see like how this looks like the middle of the ink?
Exactly. That was what I was thinking. It's just completely. And also, what's weird to me is now that you say that, look right above it, and do you see how the black shadowed point?
Would that be the edge of the staff?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it looks like it. Also, what's trippy to me is that obelisk right next to it's covered in all of the hieroglyphs, but you never need to worry about that.
Could this be like a hint?
I mean, it's like overkill. It's like overkill. They're like,
is a redo.
They just want to make sure they all work right.
They brought it in from somewhere.
That's a fact, by the way, that they brought them in from Africa. Do you know that they had to bring these back to Ethiopia? This is probably the one that they brought back to Ethiopia because they had to tear it down, and it lost about a foot in height, and they never actually assembled it properly again.
Yeah, you know this plinth that it sits on, when they were putting them up from France to Italy and everywhere else, they put them on those 40-foot plinths.
Well, the other thing is they broke them up to do it. So I mean, imagine
they couldn't figure out how to lift them.
I mean, geez, like you smash up a phallus. I mean, and that's when they finally returned the one to Ethiopia that I was referring to in 1980 or whatever. They never quite got it reassembled right, so it just looks all messed up and
Also,
angled.
guys, I'm just thinking about this. Think about this logically. The compagnons of the obelisk. So, does this look like something that would accompany this thing in any way?
Yeah.
It doesn't on face value look like it. I think this looked like to be like something modern. And then
I think they believed that the Egyptians were quite modern in the 18th and 19th century. I think it was pretty common to believe that the Egyptians were advanced, more advanced than they were at that moment. I think people knew at that moment that they were at less advanced than their society had been.
But could it also be that, compagnon? So this is like this is like a device, and these are like, accompanying this in whatever it does.
Yes, Mike.
Yes, the obelisk.
The ether.
Pillars.
Doesn't that their ether runs east to west or whatever?
This is a gigantic
That would make sense.
telegraph tower that Martin has shown a lot of times. But
it's
the same idea. Yeah, it's insane.
It's a really good postcard.
Yeah.
I like it.
And
Pretty good.
and this one is is in France, but here you see as you see on the Castle St. Angelo in Rome, those wires going up to the mercury ball of the finial. Yeah.
These are some complicated telegraph tech.
Oh, this is how the Tower of Courtouan looks today.
Right.
That crazy steampunk tower we saw earlier. This is what's left of it. I think this may be part of some of the original construction, but this
painted over and plastered over.
Yeah, maybe painted and plastered over. This part and up is completely new.
Mm-hmm.
But this foundation, however, seems to be part of the old structure completely. So this may be very old, and it may stretch further down. I would believe so.
It's possible that center part could have been part of the original, and the outside there might have been two walls, and the outer wall is gone, and the inner part might have been a core.
That could also be.
I have a question real quick for you too. With the telegraph, these things that you're showing, how then could we have images of like telegraph tech before it was invented or before it was patented, I guess?
Oh yeah, sorry,
Edison?
my bad that I haven't even mentioned that. Of course.
Yeah, it's kind of a big deal.
These telegraphic things are way before. For instance, let me just show you some of the first ones. These are for like
on Edison, big time. If he's using the name,
you think these is like 1700s, like 1701.
Busted.
Edison was like 180 years late. He's just the reason it's famous.
Yeah, we were talking about that last night, but how does he gets to patent that? So that when someone at the time be like, no, we already have this. You have to, do they change the name enough to make it his?
There wasn't a patent office before Benjamin
I suppose
Franklin.
that's right. That's right.
So Benjamin Franklin
also,
actually did the lightning rod, And then
I've been talking about the star forts being signal forts somehow, and I've already shown this orthographic view where it says Galerie de Communication. So I think that I think those two things fits.
This is getting crazy.
This is so cool. I was looking at the new patents. These are like the old telegraph patents.
What is this? Which star fort is this? This is Bastion.
Oh my God.
This is Bastion Fosse. Not to be confused with Bob Fosse.
It's so funny. When he presented this, my first thought were that these depressions were heat sinks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it looks very chip-like, very computer chip-like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
before the heat sink stuff.
And I think that heat HVAC or central heating system
Is that a crane?
idea has a lot of merit as well.
Do you see a crane attached to that? What's going on with that?
This is a huge pyramid, as the Gothic people would make it. And
But
this
what's
is
with that
Bavaria.
what's the line sticking off of it? It looks like a crane.
Flag.
Oh, that's a
yeah,
flag.
Maybe a
Okay.
flag. Might be.
Oh, yeah, right.
Guys,
And
that
yeah,
looks
so
like
this is Barbar architecture. This is Tripoli. Tripoli in Algeria, I think. Yeah, Tripoli in Algeria. And it used to have this large pyramid as the Goths would build it. And this is Naples. And it has this huge look at how big the star
Oh
fort
my
is.
gosh, I love it. I love
Just
it.
look, this is a huge structure, right? This is
What
like a
is
gigantic
happening?
structure, and this is like a star fort.
those look like pipes coming out of the bottom. Go
Yeah.
all the way down. Those look like nope. In the bottom walls. Yeah, those look like waste pipes.
Oh, but to me they look like arches, like very large, high arches.
Oh, I could see that too,
Waste
but oh yeah,
it could
they're on
also
the
be
left side.
pipes. Could also be pipes, like a large fence, huh? Depends
Well,
how you
if
look at it,
it's-
right?
If that's a manufactory, then
But I just marvel at the size of this star fort. It's just so tall and
yeah, because we live
gigantic
in
and
shitty
smooth.
apartments.
Yeah, but yeah, it's just and look at this weird structure in front of it, like this heart section, like Pac-Man shape, and then all these buttresses coming from it. Like, what's going on with this? I've never seen such a building before. But yeah, this is the top of Naples, like the hill looking over the city. Yeah, and another fort. Hard to see the finial.
Could it be a potential siege tower? I mean, some of those bits look like wooden slats to try and hold something up, or maybe some kind. I don't know. It's a weird shape, isn't it?
Yeah, it has this very pointy star shape. I think it's 6-sided. 1, 2, 3.
I think I need to. My jet lag is getting to me, so I'm probably gonna have to take off. Is it possible I could show about 4 pictures of the bricks I got today in retrospect, really quickly?
Yeah, I'm just. I'll be finished with this picture session. Let's just see if there's anything really. Oh yeah.
I don't want to end. I don't want to end what you're doing. That's not what I want either.
And we've seen this before, but yeah. Also, possibly a signal fort with the altitude.
Yeah.
And also here, Parma has this inner tower. And these are the waterborne forts I've sent to Martin before. But
Yeah,
these could be like marine routers. To reach other continents, you might have to mount some out in the ocean. But they are awesome.
That's like a
it's amazing that they could do that. Like, I'm just gonna ship this.
Because how's it gonna
tower?
How's it gonna dry? And like there's mortar to keep the bricks together and everything. Have to do.
There's a specific type of mortar that they were using from the 15th century on that would set underneath water.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is all water-based crypts. But yeah, this was the end. And just one thing I wanted to show before Andreas takes it away is I've made a history bust of, I think, huge proportions. There's this book called Civitas Veri. I can show you here. This is the book. And what it shows is it is a 1514 book. And this will be the last thing I show, but it's just mind-blowing when you see what it is. So here you see that image I just showed you. This is like huge round fort, and this is steam.
And also the first centerfold.
There's a lot of people. Yeah, you would have to look up. It's not actually the important part. This is not at all the exciting part about what is in this book. So you would have to take a guess and say, who's that guy? Just take a guess.
Hermes? I can't, it's so small.
Oh, it's close enough. Okay, so no good guesses?
Not Hermes? That was my first thought.
Not Hermes. This is the 1600s, and this is Aristotle.
Oh. Hanging out in the 1600s.
With
Wow.
Queen of France. With the
That's
Queen
so-
of France.
Wow,
Oh my gosh, I didn't see that before.
that's amazing. I mean, that really adds some clout
Hold
to
that picture still real quick.
theories, doesn't it?
Wow.
Wow.
And there's a few more pictures of very huge interest in this book.
Flamenco's like, that's what I was trying to say. What was that calligraphy also? That page had a language that looks had
Ooh,
some
there's that one
writing.
again.
Did you see the?
Now
the
we're
lab-
going into the labyrinth.
Yeah, there's a few of those coming up today.
That's Sacramentum of Minerva, the 2 trees. They're talking about a specific event.
Oh, yeah, that could very much be that they're that he's showing this Queen of France. Oh, you will get the chance to, but also look at this. This is a reptile going into the ground, or an animal, an underground animal, and these are giants compared with the little people going around in this circle somehow.
That look like a griffin.
And this is a building, and this is Fleur de Lis. She's wearing Fleur de Lis next to Aristotle. And I also want to point out that Aristotle, I have never seen him being depicted with a hat on before. That's just unheard of.
Yeah.
Like this hat.
But Hermes often
yeah,
is,
it's
right?
the 1600s.
So it makes me wonder, why are they making him look so hermetic? What is it about Aristotle then, that he's some sort of a Rosicrucian like time traveler or immortal, or because he gets killed as the little ending story, right?
Definitely link this book to me.
Look how tiny those people were around them. Also, that's kind of
exactly. Oh. So yeah, what she's called Regina Margarita, and she's called Regis Galliae, so the regent of Gallia, that would be France, or very close to France. So that's just fucked up, and that's also why she's wearing fleur de lis, I would guess, right? So that's the symbol of France.
But also the symbol
and apparently
of the
Aristotle is showing her something.
Like the dragon, the talon. It's like a talons, like a dragon thing.
Will you go to the description of P?
Yeah. The description of P. Avaritia ipsa specie monstrosa. So it is a monstrous animal. Avaritia, that would mean something with a bird. Ava. That's a bird. Something with a bird. Yeah. That would be something with flight or bird.
That's avarice.
Thought it was going in the ground. Is this a different one?
Well, he's showing her the.
You can see that that's a bird.
Oh yeah, it is.
Bird
oh my
feet.
gosh.
These are scales, and that's a lion's tail.
Yeah, like a griffin.
Oh my gosh.
But it looks like he's wearing armor, isn't it? Like, this looks like an armor? Like, but it also could just be scales.
The line right there.
But my first thought was a manticore, but it's not a serpent's tail.
Well, very griffin-like, but I don't see any wings right off the top. But the
griffin's tail is a lion's tail.
Perhaps the wings were held down by the armor.
Yeah, this is just a massively interesting book, and it has more Antiquitech devices.
Which one is this? Fuck. What is this?
Martin has shown this before. Why can't I?
Civitas Vencivem Morum.
Candocula.
Yeah. Cive. Yeah, it's called true. I think it means true city. Civitas
that one.
Oh yeah, but why can I fucking
open?
Oh, sorry. I'm gonna get a duck.
That's easy.
Another duck at Civis.
There's two.
I don't know why I cannot get into the thing right now.
Well, hold on, because there's no way I can't keep. I'm gonna pass out. So I kind of wanted to show 4 pictures.
Oh yeah.
Quickly. Can we just I want you to keep doing this though. Just cut Mike for a second, and then I'm gonna go back. Don't stop though. Just keep that. I wanted to show you guys really quickly. First there's this pyramid rock. It's been all torn out, and all of these places where they bricked up the doors that are completely brick. And you can see the old style versus the new style. The new style were done in the 50s and 60s and in the 80s with some calamari. And there's buildings here that they've completely torn up. You can see the old building plus the new buildings, which were all done for like the social architecture. Look at all of these like street buildings that are all like 2 stories tall. Once you get to this area where all the electricity comes out from this corner, there's water right by the beach, and then all these old buildings that are this yellow brick style. And the yellow brick is just everywhere. But you'll find crazy art style everywhere. And they're building the new buildings also that are coming. I want to see if I can find the church that I went to had this Moorish style, right? So right over here is this like elevated building, like a pagoda, if you notice on the right, and it's on top of these pillars. But you get to the church, it's got this old Moorish dome, and then you have the top with the bell, and these bells are ringing all the time. Inside you've got immaculate amounts of gold and a pipe organ that is still in use. And it makes me wonder, like, what are they using the organ for back at this point? But also these ornate structures, when you get close to them, you see where they've been filled in with brick. And so you see that they patch a lot of them, so you can start, like, right now is the perfect time because you go through there and you find that they're tearing them apart. And you see the old brick, the new brick, and then the stonework. And the stonework is very different. Cut to further. Yeah, so right here, this is the one that really got me. Right over this area.
Go back to that tower. That
Yeah.
looks exactly like those towers I was talking
Right.
about along the Russian architecture.
So let me give you like a little walk to this point. So you go to the beach, and right by the beach, there's like this building right here, and this building is all lifted, and then underneath it, it's hard to cut, but right here you can see that there's a basement where the floor is. So you have to step up because there's another floor below it, kind of similar to the one that you were pointing out at the Carlsberg Brewery. Anyway, these two mall-like structures, look how they're elevated on either side of it, and then they rope around like they're parking structures, right?
Oh yeah,
Right.
that's part of the new modern way of thinking. I think it was a French architect in the modernization of Paris had an idea about building structures on pillars for social architecture projects.
And then right behind it is this building. So this building is like, it's hard. I need to get a better photo of it because it's like, it was hard to get to because of this other structure. But this building behind it is made of the same yellow bricks, and it's from the same period, and it extends right beyond it. But this building right here goes right up to the wall, and then there's a tunnel right here. So right on the other side of it, right behind it, you can get people who are walking down into the underground there to get to the building. That was like the common way for them. And
that's definitely indicative of a mud flood, if anything.
Everywhere around here, you've got these old lamps, and you got all these yellow brick buildings, and there's a lot of very new things, admittedly, but like there's a lot of tunnels everywhere, which I thought was very interesting. And they're all like ones that they've hidden. They've like made you think that they're like, oh yeah, it's supposed to be here, but is it really? I don't know. Because they're old. They're not like new tunnels built for the transit system, and they're not tunnels you're supposed to go into. They're just part of these old buildings. But yeah, that was basically all I wanted to show before I pass out.
Oh yeah, and I'll also have to go now, guys. So Nathan, please pull up that book, so you can talk further on it. Look at the other pictures in it. There's a lot of Antiquitech devices in it. So yeah, guys.
Mike and Victor, I think we're gonna at some point, because we're on and maybe even Lee, because we're on this European time thing, we could do something on a Eurowave as well. Just because I want to talk more, but it's hard to do at 10 p.m. in
Yeah. I hear you. Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
All right, I love you guys. I'll talk to you soon.
All right,
Sleep
cheers,
tight,
man.
mate.
Sleep
Yeah. Bye, guys.
All
Bye,
right.
Victor. Cheers.
Bye, Victor. Thanks for the
Bye, Slee. Bye, Brittany.
Are we remaining or are we going?
No, we don't have to go. I mean, that's up to
I
you.
actually do. I was going to cut out when they did. Today is my final day to get some stuff done.
Shoot, man.
Now, Brittany doesn't get to talk about volcanoes. You want to keep on talking about volcanoes, Brittany?
Hells yes.
What's the deal with the volcano stuff? Well, that's something I'm not so familiar with. What's the angle with that?
Volcanism may have been harnessed in the past, and Brittany was looking into subsurface volcanoes in the oceans, and it's pretty killer, but it's one of the reasons the oceans hold most of our heat.
Okay. That makes sense. Almost like underground heating or something. Pompeii. What if Pompeii was dependent on the thermo aspect of the volcano? I mean, that's why. And so basically, when it went crazy, Pompeii was instantly blown up or whatever. But I mean, I'd probably covered an ash or whatever as well. But if they were extracting energy from a volcano and then there was a disaster, you can imagine how, if they had like I don't know, underground inlets or something like that, that would fuck things up really badly.
Goodness. Okay. Damn it. There's so much I want to say. I do have to go.
Yeah, I need to go to sleep.
Yes. Fully understand.
Right, I'll end it there. Take care.
Man.
Okay, good night. Bye-bye.
I still also should go, but the next time we talk, remind me to bring up the Air of Novron. And
next time we definitely have to discuss.
There's so much.
Okay.
Also, this book that Victor gave, I think I can read Latin now.
Oh, good.
There's something about it where you can actually get the root words and actually go, oh, yeah, I reckon I think I know what that means. And kind of loosely translate it to yourself. I get that when I would look at it anyway. For some reason, it's almost like you don't so much learn it, you just remember it for some reason.
Yeah, well, exactly. It's all of the root words for all of the other stupid ass words that we use, like YOLO.
YOLO.
Hey, gotta hate YOLO.
Well, so you guys go get your sleep and rest. I'll probably go back onto Discord for a bit and do it and hang out. And
yeah, I'll have this thing uploaded. Brittany, I'm really sorry we didn't get to talk about volcanoes at all. And
I had no clue what anybody was going to talk about.
Yeah, you really. If you guys have to go, just go. I'll just quit the broadcast here, regardless.